What's good, YouTube? Russell Winter here, and this is our second episode in our series on family business succession planning. In the first episode, we talked about having the conversation with ownership, taking it on yourself to bring it up and ask if it's even an option, showing ownership that you're dedicated, that you're committed, that you care about the people that are there, and you care about the business. In this episode, we're going to go over negotiations.
Never accept their first offer. What is your second offer?
Hopefully, the owner is open and willing to talk about the future of the company with you. Hopefully, they view you as a capable person and are willing to start putting down on paper what they want from the company. I can't stress enough that the goal of the deal is a fair deal. You're not looking to steal their business and they're not looking to gouge you. The idea is you want to set each other up well. You want them to trust you and be confident that you're going to run the company successfully and give them more money than they would get by just closing it and selling the asset. So I would say the first part of negotiating is set up an official meeting. If it's a corporation, make sure you take minutes. When I bought the company from my dad, it was just a matter of sitting together and recording what our thoughts were and the date and the time, what we talked about, the purpose of the meeting. Just make sure that you record it. So if the owner's open, I recommend, you have to get their approval. I recommend recording the audio, if you can, of the meeting, because memories can be tricky. Sometimes people can remember things that didn't happen. Sometimes they can change a memory. And sometimes people have really good memories. So when you get a mix or a combination of those things opposing each other or that have different memories, things can get a little bit intense. So having that audio recording is going to really help you when you go back and hit on topics that you originally talked about. So schedule the meeting, ask that the owner bring an outline of what they are looking for in someone to run the company, what they're looking to get out of it, and what their timeline is. So for you, I would bring a similar outline, bring multiple copies so that you can give one to the owner and have a copy of the owner's. What are you looking for in the company? What do you think is realistic? Do you even know the financials of the company? If you don't, you won't be able to include any sort of price or consideration in your outline. The goal of having the outline is that you don't get distracted and that you can keep to the topic at hand. So you can walk through it line by line. You don't have to make it very detailed. Keep it to 3 or 4 points that are important to you. Make sure one of your points is talking about why you want to run the business, why you think you're a good. Bring up that you do care about the people and you care about the longevity of the legacy that this owner has built, if that's something that's important to them. Ask the owner about the time frame that is on their mind. Are we talking about a 6-month deal? Are we talking about a 6-year deal? What kind of transition are they looking for? If you have been involved in the financial side of the company, which I was going into the deal, I knew what salaries were and I knew what the cash flow of the business was. So I was able to have a good understanding of what the company could afford if I ran it well and lowered my pay, what it could afford to pay the owner over time. That's known as seller financing. Seller financing would be the owner would say, okay, I will sell you my business for $100,000 and you make me monthly payments of $1,000 a month. So in my situation, if I ran the company well and no drastic events happened, I would be able to pay my dad back over years by running the company well. Also have to remember that if you're buying the owner out and maybe they're only going to stay on for a year, and then the rest of the years that you're making payments to them, you don't have their salary to cover. So oftentimes that's what you account for in your payments to them. So if the company is making $50,000 a year in profit and the owner is taking a salary of $100,000, a rough idea is that then you have $150,000 a year that you can make payments to the owner. You're obviously not going to want to use all that cash flow just to make payments, so you have to keep that in mind, but maybe $50,000 is realistic, and that still provides you with a safety net if something happens, if you lose a main customer, if you have to hire more people, to take all these things into mind. But if you do understand the financials of the company, if you're working close enough with accounting or with the owner already on that, and you have a good idea of what you can afford, bring that up at the first meeting too, so that you have a base of what is the owner, what's on his mind, what's the number on his mind, the hard number that he would like to get for his business. I've worked with an owner who was very realistic. I've worked with an owner who was very unrealistic. Sometimes you can carry on the discussion and the negotiation to a more realistic point if someone's way out there, and sometimes it's just not worth doing a deal because there might be too many emotions or memories wrapped up in the business, or maybe it's providing the owner with a standard of living that they've grown so accustomed to, and by selling it and getting paid back over time for it, they might get less than just staying in the position they are. And although I think that's a little bit nearsighted, I can understand how that would be uncomfortable for an owner to be in that position. They're selling their company, but they're getting an income of less than when they worked there. So talk about the hard numbers if you can. When we started negotiations on my family business, those negotiations took over a year, which sounds like a very long time, but there was a lot of stuff that we had to work through. There was 30 years of history. So a lot of things did have to be discussed, and we did have to get third parties to come in and value things, because values are sometimes hard to assess if your head is so deep into running the company. Do you really know what an outside valuation is? So some things to just think about is sometimes the process will take a long time, especially if it's an internal initiative where you're coming up from within the company. It's going to be a healthy idea to get some outside perspective. So talk to your accountant, talk to your attorney, talk to your bank. Work on getting an evaluation of the company. Make sure that when the owner brings up key points to you, if you feel that something's important to him that he is not bringing up, or she doesn't want to say something, or maybe she doesn't want to write something down, but you feel she's trying to communicate it by her body language or by her emotions, remember that stuff, because sometimes that stuff is even more important than what they put down. It's important that you make notes on this stuff and think about it after the meeting. Say, why did she respond that way when I questioned about finances or time frame or new hires? Like, what is there? What's going on that I am not seeing? Often those things are more important than what's written on paper. The intuition that you will have for reading people and for caring about people and knowing when people need a break or when there's something that they're not saying, reading in between the lines is one of the most important things that you can show an owner that you're capable of running the company, because it's very relational. In an ownership role, more than likely you're going to do the hiring, and if you can't read people, if you can't pick good people for the job or people that you trust, people that are trustworthy, you can get into trouble. And showing the owner that you have good intuitions can go a long way. Another thing to talk about is ask the owner how long they would be willing to stay on board as a counselor or as a mentor. In my situation, when the owner's retired, they moved 2,000 miles away. And so although I could call anytime and ask questions, it was kind of a situation of, if you want to take the island, burn the boats. You know, if you want this company to run successfully, you've got no way out. And I had no way out. I couldn't really lean on anybody physically, because 3 of us running the company and all the experienced people were gone. It was me and 2 buddies. And so that first year, our main goal was, if we can survive this first year without our experienced owners being here to hold our hand and teach us stuff as they were the year before, we know that we can make it. And we did survive that year by the skin of our teeth. We had a great time, and it really built our confidence that we could do stuff. We could really accomplish something big. It really built our confidence. So just want to encourage you that having the conversation, negotiating with ownership, these things can be hard and they can be emotional. Don't take things personal, because there's going to be plenty of opportunity to take things personally. Family business, everything is personal. And it doesn't have to be, and it really shouldn't be, because it's a business. And at the end of the day, the point of the business is to make money and to provide for people and hopefully to make a difference in your community. So if you're thinking one thing and the owner's thinking another thing, try to be reasonable and understand where they're coming from. That'll go a long way. And be excited about it. This is a huge opportunity for you. It's a huge opportunity for the owner. You could take a lot off their plate and provide them a better standard of living in their retirement than if they didn't have someone running their company or taking over the company from them. So be excited about it. If you can find a mentor to help you through the process and bounce ideas off of, that would be an exceptional benefit. I recommend score.org. They are a free network of mentors. They are a lot of people that are looking to give back. Accomplished people, successful people, business owners that are looking to help the next generation. And I found them incredibly useful. Go to score.org, find a mentor, type in your location and subject that you're looking to be mentored in. So small business, finance, growth, something like that. And hopefully you can find one in your area. They've been very helpful to me. I had a handful of them and they gave me some invaluable advice along my journey. So that wraps up episode 2 on the negotiating process. I put a link down in the description that you can follow to score.org, and there's a ton of resources on there. I highly recommend checking them out.